Okay, so welcome back, and this is the second session for our fast track course. Now things are going to go a bit fast. All right, so tighten your seatbelt. For those of you who are probably new to this, all right, you may need to tighten your seatbelt. Is Akpos on the call now? Akpos, are you on the call? I don't know what you joined as. Let me see if you joined. If you didn't join, that's fine. We can still move on. Let me ask him if he's on the call. Are you on the call? I don't want to bring people from the boot camp, okay? Okay? People from the boot camp is different. This one is people that didn't attend the boot camp. They didn't attend boot camp, so they only came to a course like this free. And they got, they were able to take what we taught and change their lives. All right. Of course, if you're on the call, just let me know. Either you send me a message on Telegram where we are chatting, or you, but irrespective, once you send me a message on Telegram, let me know what you joined us, and then I can either, promote you to a panelist or allow you to talk. All right. While we are waiting for our course to give us a signal, I hope everyone is back and you're taking your pen and your paper. I have my pen, I have my stuff, and I'm going to be writing too. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is because I can't take you through the slides. It's a lot. If I take you through the slides, that's for bootcamp. I can't do that because we'll sit here for 3 hours, another 3 hours, and I don't want to do that to you, okay? I don't want to do that to myself. I don't want to do that to you. So it's much better if I come on here, right? I'm able to quickly condense it, give you the most important thing you need, and then you can then take that and start developing your understanding. Okay, is that okay? All right, I have a background noise. Please, can you confirm that it's not affecting you? You don't hear it. I have this background noise. Somebody's doing something outside. Please, can you confirm you are not disturbed by it? Are we good? Can you hear me well? No, it's not. Okay, perfect. That makes sense. All right, I like it. Okay, no noise at all. Good. All right, let's get into the main meat of today, and let me begin to push you in certain directions. Is that okay? Okay. All right, perfect. So I just got in. Okay, Akwa said network. Okay. Maybe we'll take him some other time. That's fine. All right, let's go into the software development lifecycle. Some of you would have seen this before. All right. Okay. It's called the SDLC. SDLC. My handwriting can be very crazy, but I would try to be as legible as possible, okay? I would try to be as legible as possible. So to follow my handwriting, please listen, because sometimes I can go crazy with it. All right, so let's talk about the software development lifecycle. And I know some of you are like, Michael, why are you taking us here? You just introduced us to business analysis. Now, software development lifecycle. You are taking us, like they say in Pidgin, they carry me go where I don't know. How many of you have heard that before? They carry me go where I don't know. All right, for those of you who don't understand what that means, it means I'm trying to take you to where you don't, to the land of the unknown, where you don't, to a place you do not have an idea of, okay, to where you don't know. All right, so let me now take you to where you don't know, but I will try to make sure you know. All right, so quickly, when you hear software development lifecycle, most of you have heard this before, SDLC. What is it? And why did we come here? It's very important because you need to understand why you are learning certain things. If you do not understand why you are learning a thing, you may easily lose the import. Do you understand? So I'm going to tell you why you are learning this so that you can see the import. Do you understand? It's very important. Now, please follow me. Please. This is very important, very key. Please follow me. As a BA, okay? As a business analyst, You will drive the change. Right? You will drive the change. Now, from what I taught you in session 1, you now know that this change, okay, is carried out through the vehicle of a project. So when you're a BA, they won't come to you and say, Akpos, I want to put you on a change. Damilola, I want to put you on a change. Adrian, I want to put you on a change. That's not what they will tell you. What they will tell you, what you would likely hear is, I want to put you on a project. Oh, Damilola, there is this project that I have for you. Are you getting me? So they will not come to tell you there is this change that I have for you. But simply what they are saying is that the project is the vehicle to pursue the change. And I already told you what change is. So if you, in case you missed that, go back to session 1, okay? Go back to session 1. I explained that, explicitly in session 1. So the change is carried out through the vehicle, the medium of what is called a project. Please stick with me. Stick with me. Okay? And for those of you who are project managers, you will carry out a typical project, okay, using what is called the PMLC. It's called the Project Management Life Cycle. Okay? That's how a project is carried out. So there is the initiation of the project. So this is where they would, try to say, oh, do we need to go on this project? They will try to understand why they need to go on the project or why the project is important, all those high level things before they say, you know what? Okay, let's go on the project. Okay? So they will try to initiate the project and then planning the project. You see? Planning the project. And then executing the project. And then closing the project. So once the project has been executed, it will now be closed, right? Typically, that's how a project works, right? So you initiate, you plan, you now, execute the plan, all right? Now, and while I know some people that are project management people, they say, Michael, what of monitoring and control? Don't worry, monitoring and control is part of execution. As you're executing the project, you are monitoring and you're controlling. You see? So that's why I didn't put that there. Okay, so it is initiation, planning, execution, and closing. All right, that is number 1. That's the first thing I wanted you to know. The second thing I wanted you to know, and why we came here, and why I am pushing you into software development lifecycle, is this. Most changes these days in organizations, please listen carefully. Most changes these days in organization, how many of you agree with me that almost more than 75% of changes in organizations are digital? How many of you agree with me? If you don't agree with me, that's fine. In this age, more than 75%, I'm not saying everything, no, but more than 75%. I don't want to be too greedy and tell you 90% or 95%. I just want to leave some, benefit of that. More than 75% of the changes, even when you're talking of processes are engineered. Processes are, you use software to govern change processes. For example, your supply chain. Your supply chain has some software that helps you to, make some things move. So there is still a digital component of that process. So most of the changes, in fact, let me change the vocabulary. Most of the projects, because the changes is actually executed through a project. Most of the projects that you will undergo are mostly digital. They are tech related. In fact, let me put it in the simplest way. They are software related. And because most of the projects you'll be undergoing, most of the changes that companies undergo is digital and involves a software. Now you're getting me, right? It involves a software. As a BA, doesn't it make sense for you to understand how a software is developed? If you understand why I'm taking you to software development lifecycle, put yes in the chat. Put yes with that simple explanation I just gave you. You want to know why I just took you here? Because it's important you know why I'm teaching this subject, the SDLC. Because when you execute the project, okay, between the planning and the execution of the project, you are mainly, okay, this is where you mainly find the BA, but you also find the BA here, but it's mainly here. So you are involved in planning and executing, make sure you are hands-on on the project, hands-on in the change, because you're the one enabling the change. If you're enabling the change, is that not execution? You're executing. So if you're executing a software project, which is the major project you'll be undergoing anyway, it's important that we talk about the software development lifecycle. Do you see that? So that is why I am teaching you the SDLC. Now, quick twist. Sometimes it is not just software. Sometimes we refer to as systems. So you can hear system development lifecycle is the same thing, because these systems are powered by software. So you would see system development lifecycle, you will see software development lifecycle. Are you getting me? Okay, so software or systems development life cycle. So that is what SDLC stands for. Are you getting me? That is what SDLC stands for. So now let's get into it. What is SDLC? SDLC is the step-by-step process to develop a software. Simple, very simple. It's the step-by-step process to develop a software. Nothing more. Nothing more. Guys, it's that simple. And remember, I helped you to understand why we are teaching this. It's because you, as the enabler of change, working for an organization, most of the changes you will be pushing is digital, is software related. You see? So it's important that you understand how that software comes to life. So let's go. The first step in the SDLC, now, there are two schools of thought, but it's not that hard, and I will explain to you. So when you go online, and the reason why I need to tell you this is because some of you will be very studious, and you go online and start looking at information. So I want to help you understand the two different information that you are likely to see when you get online. Okay? The two information that you're likely to see when you get online. So let me quickly go back on my computer, and then you would see what I'm talking about. Okay? So these are the two variations that you're going to see online, and I'm going to explain. Okay? I'm going to explain. So you would see the one that starts from planning, and then goes to analysis, and then design, and then implementation. You see that one. And you will see the one that starts from analysis, and then goes to design, and then goes to implementation, and then testing, and then deployment, and then maintenance. You see? So it leaves out the planning. Why? Michael, why do we have these two different? They are not really different. And I'm going to explain it to you shortly. So let's get back to my writing pad. And I'm going to show you why they are not really different. Okay, they are saying the same thing. It's just that one wants to capture more of the process and the other is just focused on the execution. You see? All right. One wants to capture more of the process while the other is more focused on the execution, but they're the same thing. So let me start. So the first step is what we call planning, according to some people. Planning. Now, this planning is the same thing as the planning here for the project. Now you get me. So you see why the others are just focusing on execution and decide, let's just focus on the execution and start from where everything is, bang, ga, 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 where everything is happening. While some decides, let's start with the planning of the project because the BAs can also be involved and let's move from there. You see? So that's why you see these two, they're both the same. They're saying the same thing. And I'm going to explain to you why they're saying the same thing. But I would love you to go with this one that starts with planning because typically you would always be involved in that. You see that? So I'm just saying this because some of you will go online and look at things online and then you get confused. You'll be like, but they taught me planning. It starts from planning. They taught me this. That is why I'm here. To help you, throw that confusion away. You see that? So let's start with planning. It starts with planning. What is planning? And I'm going to make this very simple and short. I know I can talk on and on, but this again, like this is a crash course. I want to hit the point, bang, 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 and move. Are you okay? So let's do that. So planning. Okay? Planning. What is planning? What do you do in planning for a software project? Very simple. In planning for a software project, you want to understand the high-level requirements. I'm going to give it to you very simple. I don't want to go into the details. There's a lot of things you can do too. But everything you do here, at the end of the day, make sure you come up with a high-level requirements. Meaning that you want to undergo a change. What do we need to be able to create that change? Okay, let me give an example so that we can understand this. Let's assume, okay, and I'm going to show you some of the projects that the students have done so that you understand how they move from one step to the next step. Probably when I'm done with this, I'll just take you through one or two of the projects. I will not show you everything. I'll just show you one or two of the projects that the students have done just to help you see how things move from one place to another. Do you understand? So let's talk about the planning. In the planning, okay, let's take an example. Let's take a dating app. Let's use a dating app as our example, okay? For this, just for the explanation, let's use a dating app. Now, you want to execute this change. You want to execute this project. You see? Now, the first thing you want to do is understand what do we need as requirements for this dating app. It doesn't have to be detailed yet. You don't have to go into the details yet. It's like when you are in an aircraft and you are descending into the Heathrow Airport, or you are descending into Murtala Muhammad Airport, or you are descending into whatever airport it is. Sometimes when you are 10,000 feet, you can see houses, you sometimes, like I remember my first time, descending into London. One of the first things I could notice were stadia. I could notice that there were a couple stadia, that means different stadium, cut across London. I could see it. I could tell that there were 5 or there were 6. I could see one there. I tapped my wife. I said, "Oh, look at, there's another one there. There's another one there." I could see things from a high level. Do you see that? I could see a house. I could see those houses. I could see things from a high level. I can tell that, oh, five stadium. But I didn't have details. You see that? So with planning, what you typically come up with at this stage is high level requirements. For example, you know that people are going to register. You know that people are going to log in. You know that you're going to match people. Do you understand? What else? Give me. For those of you who have used dating app, tell me what is some of the things. Okay, you know you're going to have some kind of conversation or chat mechanism. Okay, you know that you're going to have some kind of account management. You know that you're going to have some, yeah, that is profile. Thank you. So you know these things on a high, you know that they will have some payment. Thank you, Chigozie. You see, you know you're going to have some type of settings for people to choose their settings and all of that. You know all these things. It's from a high level. Eligibility. So you see, you can, and sometimes you may even need to do what is called competitor analysis to see what the competition is doing, so that can now begin to give you some idea of how you want to do your own and probably make it better. So there are some activities that will go on here, like competitor analysis. Maybe sometimes you have to go into like the project brief, because probably they gave you a brief for that project. Or you have to, you know, there's a few things that may happen just to help you understand what the high level requirement is. Content, for example. So let's just leave this. So this is high level requirement. You haven't gotten into the details yet. You have done some ameborism. You have asked some few questions, and these are the things you heard on a high level. The next thing is number 2. Next step is requirement analysis. This is where you are now descending. You have now come down. You have now landed. You've stepped out of the airplane. That house that was like a tiny little seed while you were up there, you're now looking at it like this. That little thing that you saw from up there, when you were high up there, now you are on the ground and you can see it. Oh, you can now tell that it has 5 windows. You can now tell that it has 2 doors. You can now tell that it has 3 spotlights in front of the house. You can now tell that the door handle is golden. You can now tell that they have a jacuzzi at the back. You can now tell that they have a pool. You can now see the details of the house. They have 6 rooms. They have a room for their dog. And you see the details. So now, instead of seeing things from a high, oh, there is a house. Now you've come down. You are now seeing the details. This is what this next level is. This is where you now take the high level requirements and you begin to look for more information. You want to get more information from that. You want to analyze that requirement. For example, registration. Let's take registration, for example. Now, you want to know that in registration, they need to provide their first name. They need to provide their last name. They can register using their email and password. And if they don't want to use their email, they can use their phone number. You see, you are now getting the details. They can use their phone number and password and create a password. If they don't want to use their phone number, this is where you now realize, oh, they can use some username. Maybe they don't want people to know them, okay, that they are here on a dating website. So they'll give username. And because this is a dating site, you are expecting that they will be 18 years of age. So you have to collect their date of birth. So that in case they impute 2022 as their date of birth, you want to check that and say, 2022, you want to come on a dating app. You shouldn't even be holding a phone. You should be drinking milk or something, you know, or going to daycare. You see? So you want to know the date of birth so that for eligibility purpose, That was a tongue twist there for me. For eligibility purpose, right? So date of birth, you may want to collect that. You may want to even collect gender in this age of so many things. You may want to collect the gender and say, okay, this is I'm a male, I'm a family, I'm a female. You see, I'm a male, I'm a man, I'm a woman. You see that kind of thing? All right. So you want to probably collect the gender too. So these things are now beginning to define the register that was just a high level requirement. Now you're getting it, right? And then maybe you don't just want them to use only email and phone number. Maybe they can use their Facebook to just quickly register. They can register through socials. And these are the key criteria for them to register. If they fulfill these key criteria, now they do not need, and then you will not tell them that these ones are the required. Can you see the details that you're putting? That these fields are required and their photo is optional for registration. That for them to register, they don't need to put a photo. Now you are now defining, and where do you get this thing from? Are you the one that would just sit down and say, they should use Facebook? No, you can consult with the client. You consult with the client, and the client will now tell you that, we don't want Facebook. Oh, we want this thing to be professional. We can't use Facebook. How many of you know there's a dating app called Raya? Raya. You cannot register on that app until you are referred. You can't register on Raya. It's a dating app. You have to be referred by somebody on Raya. And it's for celebrity and high-class profiled people. So right there, when you are accepted, some people rejoice when they're accepted on Raya. It's a dating app. The requirement was that you would be on a certain class and you have to be referred by people in that class. So for that kind of app, that will also be part of their registration, referral. So you see why the details of the requirement is necessary. So you will now know the details. That thing that was just registration, you now see that, wait, this registration cannot even occur without referral. The referral is the first step. And this referral, after you write the referral, you're going to write, a composition. You're going to write something about you, about, your profession, and then once you submit it, you wait for 1 week or 2 weeks. They will process your referral. If you pass, they will send you an email to register. So that could be the requirement for this app. And this one is different from another app, maybe Bumble. But they're all trying to do almost similar things, but different requirements. So that is why business analysis has to be done in context. Because you did something that looks like what you did yesterday for another, and you're doing it for another customer, does not mean that you will have the same requirements. So business analysis is usually done within context. That you did, okay, let me give you another example. Why I said that. If you have a housing crisis in Canada and have a housing crisis in Nigeria, and we are building housing units to combat that crisis, when you are erecting structures in Canada, you are going to put insulation in the wall. True or false? Because of the climate, because of the nature of, this particular geography. It's cold. Sometimes in some parts, in a particular time of the year, it gets really cold for 3 months, for 4 months. So you want to put insulation in the wall. But you are combating the same housing crisis in Nigeria. Tell me, would you put insulation in the wall? Will you? Will you put insulation in the wall? No. Almost the same problem you're trying to solve, but different context. So that is why you see, not just having the high-level requirement is okay. You need to go into the detail of that requirement. And that is why number 2 is requirement analysis. And sometimes why they combine number 1 and number 2 and call it analysis is that sometimes even when you're collecting the high-level requirements, they can also divulge the details to you. So if a stakeholder is giving you the details, are you going to say, please, shut up? I am in the planning stage right now. Don't give me details. Don't give me details. Just give me. If it decides to give you detail at that time, you collect it. You collect it. And then maybe you can go back for more details when you do your analysis and you see that you need more details. You go back, right? That is how it is done. Then the next step after this, okay? The next step is called design. I'm going to explain this quickly. The next step of the SDLC is called design. So now that you have the details, certain design, you can now start designing what the solution will look like. Design is the representation of a solution. So you now begin to say, okay, maybe you work with a designer. I'm going to show you all of that, okay, in one of the projects that we are working on. Maybe you work with a designer. You as the BA, you've taken the requirement, you've now handed it over to the designer, and you are both working hand in hand. Now they will now take that and design what it should look like. They will now design it and call it the app. Maybe that's what it's called. That dating app is called the app. They will now say registration. And then they would do this, maybe email. I don't know. They would do maybe email or phone number. So they would design it. And then they would put this one, password. Okay. And maybe they want to make it a multi-step registration. So this will be page one of 3, maybe something like that. So that once you are done filling this one, it's going to go to the next page. So now they are designing the application. It's going to go to the next page. And then they will collect some other information. All right. So this one, they collected your email and phone number and the password. Okay. Maybe the other information they're now going to collect, all right, is your first name, last name, okay, username, date of birth, you see? So they will say first name, last name, and they may write maybe let's continue, something here. So they'll be designing it. Let's continue, last name, date of birth, they'll collect your date of birth, and then maybe this is 2 of 3. Something like that. And then once you enter this, they can tell you and give you an error here if you enter a date of birth that is not up to 18 years old. So maybe they will write something here, you have to be 18 to qualify. So now they've taken those requirements and they're now building a design. Is this the only design that happens? Maybe not. Because some of you think this is the only design that happens. No. They can also take this information that you provided, first name, last name, email, phone number, username, and all of that, and then begin to design the database. So the technical people you're working with, okay, the technical people, remember that you are the bridge between the technical people and the business people. So you take the requirement from the business and you translate it. Make sure that everybody's aligned. You take that requirement and you translate it to the implementers. The implementers could be the designers or those that are the software developers. So you take that and then you translate that requirement. So another set of design that can happen is technical design. At this stage, it doesn't have to be UX design. Okay, it doesn't have to only be user experience design, user interface design. Okay, that's what we call user experience. Okay, and user interface. Okay, so this is the user interface, the one I'm doing right now, this one. Okay, this one is the user interface, the one I'm doing right now. So it doesn't have to always be the user interface. It can also be the technical design. It can also be the technical design. So what type of technical design? For example, database design. Because they know that you have the first name, you have the last name, you have the username, you have the email. So they have to design a table to collect the data. So that's also design. So now that they have requirements from you, they can also go and design the database. So they could be a technical design. They could know how things fit together. Okay, so that is stage number 3, design. So let's recap. The first part is planning. The second part, requirement analysis. The third one, design. The next one will be what? Implementation. That's number 4. Implementation. So you took requirements from planning, you move to analysis, you analyze it properly, you move to design, and now it's time to take that design and bring life to it. Some people call this coding. Some people call this build, the build stage. So you can see some different names online. I'm just giving you the variation, right? It's still the same thing. So some people call it building stage. Some people call it coding stage. Some people call it implementation stage. It's the same thing. Okay? So implementation. That's number 4. Implementation. Now, what happens in implementation? The implementation, the technical guys, okay, the technical guys will come in, pick the design. So they will pick this design. They will pick your own documentation of the registration. And if you have a flow, you can show them a flow. If you want to put a process flow, you can put a process flow. I can't teach that in today's class. I can't teach process flow. So you can put a process flow to show how things move from one place to the other so that they understand. So your job is to make this guy that is going to be implementing it, to understand what he needs to do. And there are some meetings that you will have. There are some meetings that you will have to help him understand. And I'm going to talk about that when I talk a little bit about Scrum today. I will tell you about some of those meetings, right? So you're going to help this guy understand some things. How was that thing before and how is it going to be now? Something like that, right? So you will help him understand, and he's going to go and implement it. All right? This is where he's going to be coding. He's going to be putting all those for the front end. He will put all those HTML, CSS, those JavaScript, Python. You don't need that. Python and all of those things. He's going to be typing and, he'll be doing all those development work. At the end of the day, he will not tell you, I have something ready. I have something ready. And that's something ready. He's going to put it on what is called a testing environment. I'm going to show you all this in practical. I'm just showing you the theory now. I'm going to show you practically on one of our projects. So he's going to put it on what is called a testing, a staging environment, or what you call testing environment. Again, I can't go into the details of all of these things, or what you call staging environment. Okay? I'm going to show you practically what these things mean. Okay? He's going to put it in a staging environment or a testing environment. He will now say, Oga, go and see what I have done. The requirement that you told me, I have done it. You see? He's going to say, the requirement that you gave me then, I have done it. So now you will take what he has done. Maybe they give you a password or something to go into that environment, or you can access it. You go in there and the next thing is what? Testing. And while you are testing, they can also be doing what is called integration. I will explain. So now they've built this thing, and I'm going to show you, please. Stick around. Don't worry. Okay? If you don't understand what I'm saying, just ask a question I would answer, I'll answer that. Okay? Especially on this. So testing and integration. So you will now go and start testing it. Oh, did this thing work properly? Did this thing, when I clicked on it, did it reveal the calendar? Oh, did this thing show up the way it should? You see? So you'll be doing the testing. Now, when you are building a software, you can't build everything at once. Please listen to this part. It's very important. Listen to this part. When you are building a software, you can't build everything at once. Maybe today you will build what we call the navigation. You see that place where you have students, you have companies, you have about us, okay, you have login, you see, and then you have your logo here, okay, on that homepage. Maybe they will build just this, the navigation. Maybe just that. That's what they will build. And then build that when you click on the students, it's going to open up something, and then you're going to see courses. They're going to see practicum. You're going to see some other things, right? And then you see your courses, BA, Scrum Master, Cybersecurity, UX. So they will build this one, and then you go and test it as a unit. You test it as a unit. You see the navigation. You test it as a unit, and you see that it is working or it is not working. That is testing. And you are doing a unit testing for your own end, because they have their own unit testing. For your own end, you are looking at this as a unit and you're doing the testing. Now, there's another one called, please, this is very important, regression testing. That's why I said I'm going to take you quickly. Regression testing. What is regression testing? Because software is built one after the other, when the next time that they come, they will build the footer. You know the footer, that part where you have the newsletter and they say about us here. And then you put a couple of things, you put your address here, and then they will build the page. Now that they've built this, you will test this individually, and then you will test some other things individually, but then he's going to now integrate the whole page. That is where the integration comes in. So he's now going to integrate the page. Now, instead of you testing one after the other, now that he has built everything as one full thing with the header, the footer, he put some things here and some image, okay, some write-up, you see some navigation here. They've built that. Watch us here. Okay, he has built all of these things with the footer, and then there's a button here, and then there's the footer here with the address. Now he has built. Now each of these things he built them differently. You tested them units in the units. Now you're going to, it's going to integrate it, integration, making it one component now. Now, do you know that sometimes when you have tested in the unit, when you bring something together, you need to check whether they flow. It's like eating, I don't know why, it's like eating eba and okra. It will have to gel. You have to test that the thing will gel. You see? So when you bring this to, it's like bringing a man and a woman. They were living independently. Their lives were going on separately in units. Now, when you bring them together, you need to confirm that they can work together. You need to confirm that nothing has spoiled. You need to understand that, you need to make sure that they now blend. This husband and wife, they are not fighting every day. Oh, yes, they can fight, but, you know, they can now blend and work together. They can integrate as a unit. So that testing that you do is called regression testing. When you integrate a new component. So when you integrate a new component, you integrate them together, you have to test them. You know, you've tested them as units before. Now you have to test them together as an integration to see whether one of them have regressed. Because they are meant to make progress, not regress. When they come together, when you integrate these units, it's meant to create progress, not regression. So when they come together, you need to test to see whether it has regressed. It's what we call regression testing. So that is number 5, testing and integration. If you're following me up to this point, put yes in the chat. Quick. Quick. Especially for those of you who are new. I know this may be a lot to chew, but I'm trying to do my best to make it as simple as possible. Do you understand? I'm trying to do my best to make it as simple, and you can leave here knowing that you used your time well. Okay? All right, good. So let me just quickly run through these things, because I know for some of you who are new to this, it may be a lot in your head. So let me just quickly brush through this quickly again, okay? So that you can, so we started with the planning, where you are seeing things like on the 10,000 feet high, okay? You can't see the details, like you're seeing houses from, you know, top there, you're saying, oh, we need to do registration, we need to do this, high level requirements. Then you now begin to do your amoeborism, okay, and begin to get the details. Like, for example, registration, you need to know, oh, first name, last name is involved and all of that, right? And then you now take all of that, hand it over to the implementers, and they will start designing, okay? They will start putting some things together based on the information that you have given them. They will design. They will do this design, right? They will do the design. They will do all the design, the technical design, like designing the database. Now, after designing, they need to implement. You need to start building it. And they will start coding. The technical people will start coding and building. They will use their different languages, HTML, React, and all of that stuff. All right? And then they will build something. And then they will now tell you, it's time to test. Go to this environment and test it. That environment is not public to everybody. It's just for you. It's called a staging environment. It's for you and your testing team. Okay, they will go here and start testing things. And the way you test things, sometimes you can test it as a unit. Meaning that you test this one to see it's working. You test this other one to see it's working. You test this other one to see it's working. And when they now put it together, you also need to test it when it comes together. Because sometimes when they put things together and integrate it, some things may go broken. Some things may break. So it's important that you ensure that when they brought these things together, it did not regress. It did not regress. It progressed. So the testing that you do to check that these things are working together when you now integrate it is regression testing, because you tested in units and now you're testing when you brought them together. So that is what we have here. Testing, integration, you do your testing, and then if something is not working properly, you will send it back. You do what is called dakpada. You do what is called what? Dakpada. For those of you who don't understand, dakpada that's a Nigerian language, Yoruba. It means back to sender. So you send it back to the developer and say, developer, this is not what I asked you to do. Get it right. Do you understand? Think about it. Think about it. Just think about it. For those of you who wear what is called ashwebi, you go for parties. Your friend is organizing a wedding and you went to the tailor. Think about it. You give the tailor requirements, especially for those of you who want to go and show them in that party. You want to show them that, the latest London babe is here, or the latest Texas babe is here, the latest Canadian babe, live from Toronto. Show them Pepe. So what are you going to do? You get your fashion designer, right? You give the fashion designer some requirements. You will say, you see that gown you want to sew for me? You see that shaba? That's what we call shaba. Yeah? You split it on the side like this. You see that shaba? I want you to take that shaba here. You're giving requirements to your designer. Take that shaba here. I don't want to tell you where the hair is. Use your imagination to run the shaba. So you tell them, put that shaba here. It means put that split. Just cut it. Take it here. Some of you see those things on social media. You see how they show up in weddings these days. I don't want to go there. But, they give him strict warning. This is my opportunity to catch somebody in that wedding. So please make sure you do this thing the way I want it. They will not give requirements. You see, the bust line. This is how I want you to arrange the clothes so that when I enter inside that cloth, I'll cause confusion. It's a requirement, causing confusion. He tells him, do you know how to create clothes that when I enter, I cause confusion? That is requirement. He's giving the tailor his requirement or her requirements. He said, you see, don't give me shoulder pad. I'm not an old woman. Don't give me shoulder pad. I don't want shoulder pad. Make sure it's in fact, I don't want anything hanging. It should be the one that will just hook me like a corset. What are you doing? You're giving requirements. You will now come back after 3 days or 4 days. You can meet Musiliu. Musiliu was the one that collected he's the fashion designer. That's the name of the fashion designer. You meet Musiliu. When you collect the dress, will you just go straight to the party? The day you're going to the party is when you put on the dress? How many of you do that? How many of you do that? That when the day you collected it from your designer or collected it from you do not test it. You just take it straight into this thing. How many of you do that? No, you don't do that. So the first thing you want to do is to test it. When you now go to in front of the mirror, you now test it. You now say, Musi Liu, no be waiting, I tell you, may you do BT, so Musi Liu, this is not what I asked you to do. Oh. Musi Liu, this thing is not holding me here. Oh. You are making all this thing feel like a burger. I don't want them to see my burger. I want them to see you understand? So you are testing it and you are telling, see, this thing is not what I told you. Take it back. Do the corrections. So that's the same thing in testing. When you test the software and it's not what you told the developer, you send it back. It's what you call dakpada. You send it back and tell him, do the right thing, please. You see? And until the right thing has been done, then we are now all good. Does that make sense? So after testing has been done, everything is good. Guess what? What is next? You are waiting for the D-Day. When the D-Day has arrived, you will show them Pepe. You will just put on that glamorous dress. Enter. Even you and the host, you will be competing for best dressed. You enter and show them. You deploy. That is the next step, sir. So after testing and everything is fine, the next step is deploy. You will then deploy. You now send it to people to now use it. Are you getting me? Okay, this is why we say you put it in the live environment. You send it to people to start using it. So you deploy it. You deploy it. Now people can now see the thing that you've done, the good work that your tailor has done. Now you'll be working with your head's eye. You know, that clothes is, you have sized everybody in the party. You know that, I'm the best dressed here. You see? So you deploy. And you typically deploy in what is called a live environment or what we call a production environment when things have gone live. I don't want to go into those details, but this is the next step. It's called deployment. And when you deploy, you need to monitor that everything is working perfectly. Okay? That things are not breaking and all of that. All right? So that's the 6th stage in software development. And there is the 7th stage called maintenance. This is where you want to be looking at for the feedbacks. Right? You want to be looking out for the feedbacks. You want to check after 3 months that what you guys decided to do has actually been done. This is where you now want to be supporting maybe the users. Okay, this is where you want to probably be training the users. If it's an internal project, you are training the users on how to use it properly, on how to use those those stuff. You're putting together a training manual. You see, so you are getting some feedback and you are taking some that feedback and making it an actionable requirement. Do you understand? Good. So there you go. That is the software development lifecycle, guys. Okay, in camera. That is the software development lifecycle. So you start from the planning to analysis to what? Guys, tell me. To analysis and to what? Design. And go ahead. I know I can't hear you, but you can type. Implementation, thank you. And from there, you go to testing and integration. And there you go to what? Deploy. And then you go to maintenance. Okay, now maintenance is kind of like the things you do at the closing, right? So they're the things you do at the closing. Okay, so you can see the planning, things you do in the closing, and mostly this is what you have in the execution. Can you see that? This is what you have when you are executing a software project. And that's why mostly you see analysis, design, implementation, testing, deploy. That is the execution of that software project. The maintenance is part of what you do when you are closing. Remember the PMLC, from planning to execution to closing. And then there is the initiation where they are planning the project and you may or may not be part of it. So you see how the PMLC marries the SDLC from the initiation to the planning, okay, to the execution, which is all of this, and then to the closing, which is the maintenance. So let us focus now on the execution, because that is the major thing that you do when you are on a project is the major thing most of the time is the execution. And there are two ways that a project is typically executed. So there are two ways that a software project, okay, or most projects are typically executed. Number one is called the waterfall. So there are two ways the SDLC is executed. The first is called the waterfall. The second is called agile. And now I'm going to take you there. Are you with me till this point? We're going to stay one more hour. So in case you need to grab water, you need to get something to drink. All right. We're going to take a quick pause. 5 minutes. I'm going to give you 5 minutes and then we'll be back. Okay. Grab water. See my own here. Grab. Again, this is a crash course. And honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I don't like it when people live below their standards. You are living below your earning capacity. Just little knowledge like this can launch you to the, you don't know, whether out of the 100 of people that are on this call, even if one person gets a job from it, I'll be glad. Because just one person's life has changed. Yeah, that's what I used to suffer. But you don't have to go through it. Knowledge is key. Knowledge is power. Okay? Knowledge is power. So once you see that you can do this thing, because some of you, when you're seeing this thing from afar, you think it's too technical. You think it's too, you get. So these are the things that baffles me. Why there are the opportunities there. Yes, I know that there are some things that are technical, but this one is not that technical. I can tell you for a fact. Yeah, it changed my life. And I know it has changed so many, it has changed so many people's life. I know of a family, husband and wife. Now, they earn almost 350,000 together in their family. From nothing, under a space of 8 months, 350,000, the two, husband and wife. First, it was the wife, and then it was the husband. So, instead of doing jobs, I know you have to survive, but look beyond. Don't be discouraged. These things happen, especially for immigrants. We have to find our food. It happened to me too. But don't let that define you. Okay? There are other things that we can, and it doesn't have to be business analysis. You see, it doesn't have to be business analysis. It doesn't have to. I will tell you a couple of things, but maybe today may not, maybe I'll find another time. And, I'll tell you, just make sure you're on the Telegram group, because sometimes I do some of these sessions and I send it to the Telegram group. So please make sure you're on our Telegram group, because sometimes I just send these things and I say, join the meeting because I want to tell you something important. All right. So please, let's take the break. Let's take the break. I'm taking your break. I started talking. It's my nature. So let's take a break, 5-minute break. I'm going to pause the recording. Okay, let's take the 5-minute break and then we'll be back. Okay. So I'm just going to put it here, 5-minute break. Okay. So here on my watch is going to be 1:10 p.m. EST. Okay. So once it is 10 past the hour on your end, please join again. Okay. The Telegram link. Okay, I'm going to send it. I'm going to send the Telegram link quickly. Give me a minute. So please go on a break, drink water if you have to. Okay, I'm going to send the Telegram link now. There is a North America lounge. Don't worry, you can join that lounge for those of you in the UK. Okay, later I will be able to tell you how you can join.